Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Bhakti Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, and Chapter 5. Is it verse 17? 18. Tasyaiva heto prayateta kovido lalapyate yad brahmavatan uparyada. Talapyate dukakavad anyata sukham kalena sarvatra kabira ramhasa. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet Brahmaloka down to the lowest planet Patala. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries, even though we do not desire it. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Every man, everywhere, is trying to obtain the greatest amount of sense enjoyment by various endeavors. Some men are busy engaged in trade, industry, economic development, political supremacy, etc. And some of them are engaged in fruitive work to become happy in the next life by attaining higher planets. It is said that on the moon the inhabitants are fit for greater sense enjoyment by drinking somarasa, and the Pitraloka is obtained by good charitable work. So there are various programs for sense enjoyment, either during this life or in the life after death. Some are trying to reach the moon or other planets by some mechanical arrangement, for they are very anxious to get into such planets without doing good work. But it is not to happen. By the law of the Supreme, different places are meant for different grades of living beings according to the work they have performed. By good work only, as prescribed in the scriptures, can one obtain birth in a good family, opulence, good education, and good bodily features. We see also that even in this life, one obtains a good education or money by good work. Similarly, in our next birth, we get such desirable positions only by good work. Otherwise, it would not so happen that two persons born in the same place at the same time are seen differently, placed according to previous work. But all such material positions are impermanent. The positions in the topmost Brahmaloka and in the lowest Patala are also changeable according to our own work. The philosophically inclined person must not be tempted by such changeable positions. He should try to get into the permanent life of bliss and knowledge, where he will not be forced to come back again to the miserable material world, either in this or that planet. Miseries and mixed happiness are two features of material life, and they are obtained in Brahmaloka and in other lokas also. They are obtained in the life of the demigods and also in the life of the dogs and hogs. The miseries and mixed happiness of all living beings are only of different degree and quality, but no one is free from the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Similarly, everyone has his destined happiness also. No one can get more or less of these things simply by personal endeavors. Even if they are obtained, they can be lost again. One should not, therefore, waste time with these flimsy things. One should only endeavor to go back to Godhead. That should be the mission of everyone's life. Well, this is a very powerful statement by Srila Prabhupada. It shows the absolute importance of becoming Krishna conscious in this life, because everything else we do for maintenance, for sense enjoyment, all these things are temporary. They'll come and go. The only thing that is permanent is our eternal relationship with Krishna. So we've forgotten about that relationship, but human life is a chance to remake that relationship. And every facility to do that has been given by the acharyas. Every facility. You know, Prabhupada went so far as to translate all these Vedic literatures into English and at least 180 other languages, so that everybody has a chance to be educated in their original home, which is the spiritual world. We all come from the spiritual world, and we have the possible destiny of returning to the spiritual world. We don't have to stay permanently in the world of birth, death, old age, and disease. So this verse says, Tashyaiva heto prayate takovido, nalapyate yad matam kuparyada. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end, which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, down to the lowest planet, Patala. Yeah, in other words, the purposeful end is going back to the spiritual world. It's not staying within the confines of the material world, whether it's Brahmaloka all the way down to Patala, the hellish planets. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries, even though we do not desire them. So this is a profound statement, because happiness and miseries are determined by our previous life and our good and bad works that we did. So it's predetermined. That's why if you go to a palmist, they tell you that what's on your palm in your left hand is your previous life, and what's on your palm in the right hand is this present life. So they can tell a lot of things about your previous life, and they can tell a lot of things about your present life. Most of it is general information. There'll be some specifics, but mostly general. They can tell you approximately the duration of life. They can tell you whether you're going to get married, how many kids you might have, what your main interests in life are, and so forth. But as far as happiness and misery is concerned, it's already preordained by our karma from previous lives. And there's not much we can do to change it unless we become Krishna conscious. So that is the good news. The only way we can forestall, put on hold our previous karma is by surrendering completely to the Lord. And that's the whole message of Bhagavad Gita. When Krishna says, Sarvadharma prityaja mami kam saranam raja aham tvam sarvapapyabhyo moksisyami mahasuchaha. So 18th chapter, 66th verse, he says, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. And so this when he says, Aham tvam sarva papibhya. Aham means I, tvam means you, sarva all, papibhya. From sinful reactions, moksishyami, I will deliver you. So he's promising to deliver us from all sinful reactions of our previous lives and this life. And similarly, Krishna said to Bali Maharaj, in the Srimad Bhagavatam 8th canto, 22nd verse, 29 to 36, 22nd chapter, 29 to 36 verses. I shall always be with you and give you protection in all respects and all your assets, and you will always be able to see me. So, this is the possibility. And therefore, what is the message of Bhagavad Gita? It's, first of all, surrender, and then I will take charge of you from all reactions of sinful activities. That's Bhagavad Gita. It's in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 25th chapter, verse number 10. And then in Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, verse number 14, he says that let's take a look at that. It says, Daivi esa brahmai mama maya duradya mam evi prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. It says that this material nature is virtually impossible to overcome because it's gunamayi. It's consisting of these three modes of material nature. And this is a divine energy of mind. So it's impossible to overcome birth, death, old age, and disease. It's impossible to overcome the influence of the modes of material nature. It's impossible to overcome the types of miseries that one experiences in life, miseries caused by this body, miseries caused by other bodies, miseries caused by cataclysmic events. All these things are virtually impossible to overcome, regardless of how astute we may be with empirical knowledge, etc. However, he says, Mam evaye prapadyante, one who surrenders unto me can easily cross beyond this basically ocean of suffering in the material world. So, should we believe what the Lord says? Yes, definitely we should believe what he says, because he repeats it twice, in 1866 and 714. Both times he says, Mam ekam saranam raja, in 1866, surrender only unto me. And in 7.4 he says, Mam evaye prapadyante, again, surrender only unto me. So, this surrender to the Lord is not something horrible, it's actually wonderful, because Krishna is promising to take care of his devotee. He reveals this in many different places, especially, for example, in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 10 and 11, Krishna says, Tesam sattayuktanam pachatam pratipurvakam tadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayantite. He says, to those who are constantly devoted to me and serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, when a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. In other words, the goal of life is go back to Godhead, develop love for Krishna, surrender unto the Lord, and take his advice. But if we are still attached to the fruits of our activities, then it's like a ladder. If you stop on one level, that's called karma yoga, right? You know Krishna is God, you know that we should serve him with love and devotion, but still you have material desires. So you get stuck on that level. And when he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, then he's acting on a level of jnana yoga, right? That's another, let's call it, impediment. The first impediment is being attached to the results. Even though one is acting piously, but one is attached to the results, that's karma yoga. Then, if one knows what the goal of life is, but they have this bad habit of speculation, and they take pleasure in mental speculation, that's called jnana yoga. And when one knows the goal, but seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, that's called bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga. So you have what's called the yoga ladder. There's also one other thing, is when one is enamored by, one knows what the goal of life is, but one is enamored by having tremendous powers, like mastering the 8 yoga siddhis. So that's called Siddha Yoga. So these are like different steps on the yoga ladder, but one can get stuck at a certain level due to material attachments. And the attachments become more and more subtle as you go up. And therefore, they're impediments. But the goal is to engage in pure bhakti. And therefore Krishna says, Tesam ivanukam paratam aham agyanamam tama nasayat miyatma bhavasto jnana dipena basvato. He says, to show them special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So, in the purport, His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada says, but even if a devotee does not take advantage of spiritual literatures like Bhagavad Gita or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So Krishna is present in the heart as Paramatma. So if the devotee is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. So in every chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna emphasizes the importance of pure devotional service without any material motive other than to please the Lord. And Prabhupada also writes, due to the contamination of material association through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, the dust quickly clears and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically. This is good news. In other words, what is he saying? He said, Prabhupada said, this is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. In other words, the pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. So Saturday we're going to celebrate the birthday of Rasavati Devi Dasi. She's an example of someone who's completely surrendered to the devotional service of the Lord. And it says here, the pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He or she need not be anxious, because when he or she removes the darkness from the heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So, can everyone completely surrender? No. It's a gradual process. Nowhere does Prabhupada say you can do it overnight. It's a gradual process. But the process leads gradually to full surrender to the Lord. And at that point, the Lord takes charge and provides the devotee with whatever is necessary to live and continue the work of devotion. Nanya chintayanto mam ye jana paryapasite tesam nitya vyuktanam yokushyamam vaham yaham. So in the 9th chapter, Krishna says that for one who is completely surrendered to me, worshiping me with love and devotion, I provide what they lack and preserve what they have. It's 9th chapter, 22nd verse. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So here Krishna says, one who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day, being engaged in devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshiping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, and surrendering fully to the Lord. Such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies, which make the devotee perfect in self-realization, so that his only desire is to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. This is called yoga. By the mercy, well, yoga means connecting to the Lord. So, if you are engaged in the service of the Lord, you're connected to the Lord. If you're chanting the holy name of the Lord regularly, every day, you're connected to the Lord. If you're receiving the prasadam of the Lord, you're connected to the Lord, right? And if you're donating for the service of the Lord, you're connected to the Lord. And if you're bowing down in the temple in front of Radha and Krishna, you're connected to the Lord. So the idea is, how much are we connected in one day? So if you're connected 24 hours a day, that means you've become a pure devotee. And what do these two words mean? Yoga and Shema. Yoga Shemam Vaham Yaham, he says. Well, yoga means that Krishna makes approach to him or surrender to him or always thinking of him easy. What could be easier than chanting and dancing, right? Chant Hare Krishna and dance. You're connected to the Lord immediately by the holy name. And then he says Shema, that's the meaning of yoga. He makes the approach to the Lord, to him, very easy for the devotee. And then number 2, Shema means if you surrender to the Lord, then he mercifully protects the devotee. Because there are all kinds of dangerous situations in life. Just like today, or was it yesterday, an 11-year-old girl got off the bus that drove her home from school, right? And when the bus went away, she was walking toward her house, some man came and grabbed her, and she started screaming, and threw her in the car and drove off with her. Right? This happened in Massachusetts. So some people saw this, and they saw the car, and someone took a picture of the car, and they right away they have the Amber Alert. Yeah, and 6 hours later they caught the man. Somebody saw the car, they reported to the police, they immediately caught, and fortunately the girl was not harmed. Right. So this can happen at any time to anybody. And if you read the newspapers, every day things like this are happening in this country. It's horrible. But someone who's sincere about serving the Lord, Krishna guarantees his protection. Okay, so coming back to this verse today, persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtainable, even by wandering from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, down to the lowest planet, Patala. So, what is that purposeful end? In the whole Mahabharata, which is like 125,000 verses, right? It's a huge number of verses, right? But the essence of the whole Mahabharata is the Bhagavad Gita. And the essence of Bhagavad Gita are the 10 nutshell verses. Aham sarvasya prabhava matak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. And then, so that's the first verse. And the second verse is about, let me just see. Yeah, matchita matkata prana bodhyantas parasparam katyantas chamam nityam tusyanti cha ramanti cha. And the third verse is what we already quoted. Tesam satati yuktanam vachitam pritipurvakam dudami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayanti te. And the fourth last verse, Tesam ivanakam partam aham agyanamam tama nasyam yatmabhavasto gyanati penabhasvato. These 4 verses are the core verses around which the whole Bhagavad Gita is written. They're called the nutshell verses. And the first verse says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. This is the essential message of Bhagavad Gita, which is the essential message of the whole Mahabharata. And then it says, Matchita Matkata Pranak. It says, the thoughts of my pure devotees always dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to me, to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, always enlightening one another and conversing about me. These are the symptoms of real devotees. And then the next verse, those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So this knowledge is revealed. It's not academic. It depends on how much we surrender to the Lord. Yeyatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mamavart manavartante manusya partha sarvasaha. In the 4th chapter, I think it's the 11th verse, it says that as my devotee surrenders unto me, I progressively reveal myself to him. So everything depends on our surrender to the Lord. Just like even in Christianity, you have Jesus Christ, who's purported to be the Son of God, on the hill of Gethsemane. He receives a message from his Father, Krishna, that he's going to be crucified and sacrificed for the sins of mankind. At first he hesitates. He doesn't say no, but he hesitates. But then he says, my dear Father, it's not what I want, it's what you want that I will do. Right? So that's surrender. Surrendering to the will of God. And the same thing in Bhagavad Gita. Near the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna tells Krishna, Nasta moha smritir labdva tat prasadat mayuchyata stitosmi gata sandeha karisya vachanam tava. Now, Krishna, my illusion is over. Nasti moha smritir labdva, I've regained my memory. Tat prasadat mayuchyata, this is your special mercy that you have given me this enlightened consciousness. Now I know I'm your eternal servant. Stitosmi gata sandeha, now I'm situated in my right position as your eternal servant. I no longer have any doubts. Karisya vachanam tava, whatever you tell me, that's what I'm going to do. So just imagine if you have a son and daughter and they say, Dad, Mom, whatever you tell me, that's what I'm going to do. Would you be happy? Huh? Would you be happy if your child said that? Well, yeah, obviously. You wouldn't say, okay, now I want you to jump off a bridge or you can start smoking marijuana. No, you would say, look, I want you to be a good person. I want you to be honest. Doesn't matter you have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of money. Just be an honest person, and you should understand your relationship with God. Chant Hare Krishna. And come to the temple regularly, listen to the classes. The one thing that's emphasized more than anything else by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by all the acharyas in the Gaudiya Vaishnava and even the other bona fide Vaishnava sampradayas, is Shravanam Kirtanam. Regularly hearing and then repeating what you've heard. And then after that comes Smaranam. Then you will remember. Regular hearing and repeating. So Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Rai, he said, what's the best way to become Krishna conscious? And Ramananda Rai gave so many answers, and Lord Chaitanya said, that's good, but it's not enough. Tell me something else. But when he said, Stani stata shuti gadan gatan tanaman manobir, just sit down in your position. You don't have to change your position. You might be a PhD, you might be a taxi driver, you might be a whatever. Just sit down regularly and hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by genuine devotees. This constant hearing is what's emphasized, especially in this age of Kali, because in this age, everyone has a bad memory. We hear something, but we forget it. Like if someone asks you what I spoke about tonight, 1 week from now, you'll say, oh, it was great, Can you say one thing? Well, he said something about hearing. But that would be about it, I mean, there's so many quotes, so many verses I'm quoting, right? Nobody will remember all of them. They might not even remember any of them, right? And they might remember, well, he said something about hearing, But this is the one thing that is most, let's say, emphasized, where Krishna says, Tat Shrinu. Listen to me, Arjuna. In the 7th chapter, in the beginning of the 7th chapter, Krishna says, let's take a look at that. Maya Shakta Manak Parta Yogam Yunjan Madasraya Samsayam Samagran Man Yata Yasyasi Tat Shrinu. Okay, now what does this Tat Shrinu mean? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, now hear, O son of Prita, Arjuna, now hear, right? Tat Shrinu. How by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So this is a very important verse. Prabhupada quoted this verse many times. Now hear, O Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So, now hear, right? And he says that often. He also, let's see, at least 10 or 15 places he says that. Let's take a look at the 6th chapter, 35th verse. So, 6th chapter, 35th verse. Krishna says, Asam sayam mahabaho manodur nigraham chalam abhyasena tukonteya vairagyena chagriyate. Lord Krishna said, O mighty armed Arjuna, O mighty young son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So what does that mean? In the purport, Prabhupada says, the difficulty in controlling the obstinate mind, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the supersoul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. There it is. Hearing about Krishna. Shravanam. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn vairagya, or renunciation. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind and spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Bhagavad Gita, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called parisanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. So, hearing and tasting prasadam. 2 things related to the tongue. The tongue vibrates, right? And tastes. So if you vibrate the names of God, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and you taste prasadam, and you listen to different classes, you will be purified very quickly. Okay. So this hearing from Krishna, or about Krishna, is the most important thing in the age of Kali for purging the mind of all nonsense. Because where is the nonsense coming from? Hearing nonsense. See? And there's plenty of nonsense out there. So one can purge the mind by hearing about Krishna. Now, there's a lot of emphasis given in Bhagavad Gita on listening to the dictation of the Lord. This is especially in the 6th chapter. Let's see how many times he says this in this chapter. It's amazing. He says in verse number 6, "For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy." And in the purport, Prabhupada says, The purpose of practicing Eightfold Yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga for show is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy, and thus his life and his mission is spoiled. The constitutional position of the living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. All of us are carrying out orders by some superior. It could be your wife, it could be your husband, it could be your team leader, it could be the CEO, it could be the IRS, it could be... all the time we're receiving orders from somebody in life. The constitutional position of living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictations of lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of Godhead, who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramatma. Such real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart and then following his dictation. How many times do you say dictation in this one paragraph? At least 3 times. Now, for one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows out automatically. 4 times now he said it in a short paragraph, and actually 5 times, because he also said that the constitutional position of living entities carry out the order of the superior. That's a dictation. See? So 5 times he says it in a short paragraph. And he again repeats this in the next verse. Jitamana prasantasya paramatma samadhita sitosna sukha dukesu tata mana pramanayo. For one who has conquered the mind, the supersoul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. And in the purport again, Prabhupada says, actually every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. When the mind is misled by the external illusory energy, one becomes entangled in material activities. Therefore, as soon as one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga systems, one should be considered to have already reached the destination. One has to abide by the superior dictation. When one's mind is fixed on the superior nature, he has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the Supreme. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. The effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictation of the Paramatma or the Supersoul. Because this transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness, the devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, namely distress and happiness, cold and heat, etc. This state is practical samadhi or absorption in the Supreme. So, how many times he says the dictation in two purports? I mean, many, many times. So, that's the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita. Tat Shrinu, Krishna says, listen to me. This hearing is a number one, hearing bona fide statements by devotees, and for them to be bona fide, they have to simply repeat what the previous acharyas have said, and the most important acharya for us is Srila Prabhupada. And he only repeats what previous acharyas say. He doesn't make anything up. He doesn't say, my opinion about this verse is the following. You never see that. He says, every line of his purports is basically a paraphrase of a bona fide verse. And we could we could demonstrate, that's called the tapestry of the purport. The tapestry has horizontal and vertical and horizontal threads that are tightened, right? So there are many horizontal and vertical threads in Prabhupada's purports. It's very tight. And if you do a correspondence, that is, you go through all the purports and see how he repeats something or elaborates something with something he said before, you see that there's complete correspondence. He never is, let's say, off message. He never contradicts himself. He's always backing up everything he says with statements from authentic Vedic scriptures. It's not easy to write like that. It's not like creative writing. You know, you have what you call a natural flow of consciousness. You know, whatever nonsense comes in your mind, you write it down. You call it poetry or something. You know, that's not like that. Prabhupada said his purports are his spiritual ecstasies, because he spends so much time choosing the right words, and you can see that. One time there was this so-called French Sanskrit scholar. He couldn't read Sanskrit. He always would read the Latin alphabet transliteration, but he knew something, right? So after meeting Prabhupada and devotees, his name was Professeur Chenique. So, and when he actually met Prabhupada and spent some time talking to him, they discussed some things. So when he came out of the meeting, he told the devotees that your guru is wrong. It's very wrong. So the devotee said, well, "What's wrong?" He said, "Every page he says Krishna is God." So when we told Prabhupada that, Prabhupada laughed. He said, "He has understood what I have done." Because Prabhupada says, basically, Krishna is mentioned in every page of Bhagavad Gita, right? But this professor thought that was a mistake, right? So he didn't really understand anything, neither Sanskrit nor the philosophy. You know? And believe me, you've never met people so, let's say, ridiculously stupid until you go to France. You'll meet people that are so ridiculously stupid, you can't believe it. And they're educated. They have PhDs and things, but they're actually stupid. They say this, just like this guy, they say the dumbest things in the world, Huh? Whatever. So they're not really taught to think critically. They're taught to be, it's like a horse, So the horse goes straight, so they have blinders on the horse, so he can't see left and he can't see right. He can only see straight ahead, right? That's what the French are like. They only see straight ahead, Sense gratification, that's it, They don't know anything else. Not all, but a lot. A lot of them are like that. Okay, so therefore, persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end, which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, down to the lowest planet, Patala. Yeah, what is that purposeful end? That's to become Krishna conscious. That's to listen to the dictation of the Lord, Tat Shrinu. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries, even though we do not desire them. So we should not worry about happiness or distress. They're going to come due to our previous karma. But Krishna promises that if you surrender unto him, he puts a hold on that karma. Or if there is a reaction, it's a token reaction. So instead of having your head cut off, you just get a little bit of your finger cut, right? You don't even need a stitch. So, therefore, there's a real interest to become Krishna conscious. If you're concerned about your safety, your welfare, the welfare of your family, it's a real blessing to be Krishna conscious, because Krishna promises to protect his devotee. Okay. Okay, any questions about that verse? Okay, we'll go to the next verse. All these verses now, these are extremely important verses. So text 19. My dear Vyasa, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down, somehow or other, he certainly does not undergo material existence like others, fruitive workers, etc. Because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember the ecstasy again and again. This is a very important verse also. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, a devotee of the Lord automatically becomes uninterested in the enchantment of material existence because he is rasa graha, or one who has tasted the sweetness of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. There are certainly many instances where devotees of the Lord have fallen down due to uncongenial association, just like fruitive workers, who are always prone to degradation. But even though he falls down, a devotee is never to be considered the same as a fallen karmi or materialist. A karmi or a materialist suffers the result of his own fruitive actions, whereas a devotee is reformed by chastisement directed by the Lord himself. Now, we're going to discuss what that means. Reformed by chastisement directed by the Lord himself. It's a very important statement. The sufferings of an orphan and the sufferings of a beloved child of a king are not one and the same. An orphan is really poor because he has no one to take care of him. But a beloved son of a rich man, although he appears to be on the same level as the orphan, is always under the vigilance of his capable father. A devotee of the Lord, due to wrong associations, sometimes imitates the fruitive workers. The fruitive workers want to lord it over the material world. Similarly, a neophyte devotee foolishly thinks of accumulating some material power in exchange for devotional service. Such foolish devotees are sometimes put into difficulty by the Lord himself. As a special favor, he may remove all material paraphernalia. By such action, the bewildered devotee is forsaken by all friends and relatives, and so he comes to his senses again by the mercy of the Lord and is set right to execute his devotional service. So in other words, it's saying that someone who's rendered service to Krishna, Krishna will always have a favorable, let's say, proclivity to help such a devotee. Now, sometimes devotees fall down due to bad association. But the Lord, out of his kindness, his unfathomable mercy, will sometimes take everything away from such a devotee. Put him in a complete destitute situation where everyone abandons him, including friends and relatives and so forth. And then the devotee wakes up and says, you know, this is happening because I left Krishna. And at that point, such a person will come back to Krishna consciousness. So this is like the example of the son of a king who makes some mistakes in life. It's different than an orphan who makes mistakes in life, because there's nobody to help the orphan, right? Doesn't have parents. But the king is there to help his son who's fallen down due to bad association. So if we surrender to Krishna and we fall down, the Lord will take care of us. But through remedial, let's call it punishment or difficulty. So therefore he's saying, as a special favor, the Lord may remove all material paraphernalia. By such action, the bewildered devotee is forsaken by all friends and relatives, and so he comes to his senses again by the mercy of the Lord and is set right to execute his devotional service. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that such fallen devotees are given a chance to take birth in a family of highly qualified brahmanas or in a rich mercantile family. A devotee in such a position is not as fortunate as one who is chastised by the Lord and put into a position seemingly of helplessness. The devotee who becomes helpless by the will of the Lord is more fortunate than those who are born in good families. The fallen devotees born in a good family may forget the lotus feet of the Lord because they are less fortunate. But the devotee who is put into a forlorn condition is more fortunate because he swiftly returns to the lotus feet of the Lord, thinking himself helpless all around. Pure devotional service is so spiritually relishable that a devotee becomes automatically uninterested in material enjoyment. That is the sign of perfection in progressive devotional service. A pure devotee continuously remembers the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna and does not forget him even for a moment, not even in exchange for all the opulence of the three worlds. So this is an extremely important purport. It's a very serious subject. Krishna also says in the 9th chapter, Apichet, what does it say, Apichet? There's two verses that begin Apichet. Sarvapapebhyo, Apichet sarvapapebhyo, Bhajante mam ananyabhak sadar eva samantavya samyak vyavasito hi saha. This verse says that even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. So this is a controversial verse in some ways. People say, what do you mean? Most abominable action? What if he kills someone? You're trying to say if he continues in devotional service, he's considered saintly? Well, yeah, that's what it says. Like, I know a person, he's a devotee, he killed someone, and he's in jail for the rest of his life right now. But in jail, he's chanting 16 good rounds every day. In fact, he's chanting more than 16 rounds, right? And he's reading Prabhupada's books, and he's preaching to the other people in jail. Is that a reason to get him out of jail? No. He's going to stay in jail the rest of his life. But he woke up. He realized he made some big mistake, and that now he has to be serious for the rest of his life. Yeah. No, it doesn't necessarily say that. It says, if you commit an abominable action, but you continue in devotional service, you're considered to be saintly, right? So that doesn't, no, in the case of someone who commits murder, he's going to be put in jail, but he's continuing devotional service in jail. Yeah, he's an initiated devotee. He murdered someone. Yeah, one time I was president in Berkeley, California. Berkeley's a strange place. A lot of strange people there. Right? So one man, people were coming all the time to the temple. They want to live in the temple, right? And usually it's because they know they'll get a place to sleep, they'll have nice food, and they can fake their way, have a free lunch basically, right, every day. So I was always very careful whoever I led into the temple. So one man came and he said that he was an initiated devotee. I said, oh, that's good. I said, who's your guru? He gave the name of his guru. I said, how many years have you been initiated? Oh, I've been initiated about 10, 12 years. I said, excellent. I said, when was the last time you were in the temple? He said, so about, after I joined, I was there about 3 years. I said, that's good. What did you do the other 9 years? He said, well, I was, I was doing other things. I said, okay, what were those other things? He said, well, I was, I was incarcerated. That means he was in jail. I said, oh. I said, what were you in jail for? Well, I did something wrong. I said, I know, but specifically what did you do wrong? He said, I killed somebody. I said, okay, you can't stay in the temple. He said, wait a minute, I'm telling you the truth. I know. Whether you told me the truth or you lied, I would have found out, because I'd call up your guru and ask him. You can't stay in the temple. I said, okay. So he went to another temple, and they let him stay. And he almost killed somebody. He got into a fight, and they broke it up before he killed him. Right? So this is the problem when you have, well, we don't see it so much here, although it does happen here also. People come and they want to stay in. I have to vet them very carefully, but you can't just let anybody stay in the temple, right? It's unfair to the residents of the temple. It's unfair to the people that come to the temple, right? So it's important that we know the past of a person. They're walking off the street and they're saying, I'm an initiated devotee. How do we know they're an initiated devotee? There was this one person came to, and Berkeley, like I said, is a strange place. There was another person came, and he said his name was Prabhupada Das. I said, I told him that's a nice name. He wanted to stay in the temple. I said, well, Prabhupada Das, I said, who's your guru? He said, oh, it's Chaitya Guru. I said, Chaitya Guru. I said, okay, that's Krishna in the heart. That's Paramatma. I said, yeah, I took initiation from Paramatma. I said, okay, you can't stay in the temple. I said, why not? I'm initiated. I said, I know. But then I read something to him. It's in 18th chapter, 57th verse, where it says, 58th verse, it says, no conditioned soul actually knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. But a person who acts in Krishna consciousness is free to act because everything is prompted by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master without. This is also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 7th chapter, 5th verse. Oh, let me read it. It's here. 1st chapter, 7th verse. 7th chapter, 5th verse. 7th chapter, 5th verse. Where it says, this means that the conditioned souls are being reclaimed by the Lord both ways, namely by the process of punishment by the external energy of the Lord and by himself as the spiritual master within and without. So this Chaitya Guru is the spiritual master within, and the initiating and Shiksha Gurus are spiritual masters without. Right? So this says that everything is prompted in Krishna consciousness. Everything is prompted in Krishna consciousness by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master without. So I said, so Chaitya Guru initiated you. And who confirmed the initiation? Which Guru confirmed the initiation? He said, no, just Chaitya Guru. I said, okay, well, you can't stay in the temple. He said, why not? I said, because you're not initiated in a proper way. It has to be within and without. So we see, unless we know the Shastra, it's very easy to be bamboozled by all these fakes. Right? Another time I met a man, this was in this temple before this big temple was built, in the old house. One man came, and after the lecture he came up to me, and he wanted to speak to me privately. I said, okay, what is it? And he said, do you know who I am? I said, no, I don't know. You don't know who I am? I said, no, I don't know who you are. Who are you? He See, he took his wallet out and had a big card. And he gave me the card, and I looked at it. It said the International Rosicrucian Movement. So and so is a bona fide incarnation of God. And so I gave him the card. I didn't say anything. I just gave him the card back. He says, "So you know who I am now?" I said, "Can you answer one question for me?" He said, "What's that?" I said, "How did you become God?" "Well, I did some meditation, and I was doing some exercises, and I became God." I said, "Okay." I said, "You're a phony." He said, "What? Who are you to tell me that? Did you see my card?" I said, "Yeah, I saw your card, but your answer was wrong. You don't become God by some process. Either you are God or you're not God. So if you said you became God by a process, that means you're a phony. You're a nonsense." You see, we're confronted all the time with nonsensical propositions and people, and unless we know the Shastra, it's easy to get fooled by these people, because he shows me a card that says he's an incarnation of God, as if I have to accept that, or that's proof. See? Okay, so in this verse now, it's a very serious subject, and unless we take this seriously, we can misinterpret what's happening to us. And here Prabhupada says, the philosophically inclined person must not be tempted by such changeable positions. Yeah, you can be in Brahmaloka or you can be in Patala. But that's depending on our own work. And it's going from the top to the bottom. And Bhagavad Gita says, from the highest planet to the lowest planet, all are places of misery, where there's repeated birth and death. So you're not really in a good position being in Brahmaloka, and you're not in a good position being in Patala. The good position is being free completely of the material world and material influences. So, therefore, there was one point we were going to discuss, which was, what was that point? Remember when I said we were going to discuss this point? Oh, okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Radha Nilamadhava ki jai. Yes, that's it. So what is this chastisement directed by the Lord himself? Well, that's his special mercy on sincere devotees who have fallen down. Special favor of the Lord. Therefore, I experienced once, I was on a morning walk with Prabhupada, and I wanted to look like I was, some kind of a smart guy. So I asked Prabhupada one question. It was the day of his Vyas Puja. I think it was 1972 in Vrindavan. And I said, "Oh, Prabhupada, what did you think of your guru on his Vyas Puja day?" And I thought he would, answer it, and he stopped. We were on a morning walk. He stopped and he looked at me. He gave me a very bad look. And I said, "This is not a proper question. Why did you ask? Why are you asking this?" So I was trying to think, why is it not a proper question? I thought it was a really good question, right? Actually, it was a very, very bad thing to say, because I was like putting myself on an equal level with Prabhupada, right? It's like a god brother of his saying, "Well, what do you think of our Gurudev?" Right? It was not a proper question, and he chastised me. Now, when you get chastised by the Guru, actually it's a special mercy. we should not be upset that we got chastised. It's a special mercy because he's correcting us. Now, if someone doesn't really like you, they won't correct you. And then you'll make more and more mistakes in the end. But when the spiritual master corrects you, you should feel happy inside that he's taking the time to to correct my mistakes, because that's what the spiritual master is. He's heavy. Heavy means that he's always focused on pure devotional service, and therefore, when he sees something that's deviating, right away he'll mention it. Right? So this chastisement by the spiritual master is special mercy. And we should look at it in that way, and not in any way. A devotee in such a position is not as fortunate as one who is chastised by the Lord and put into a position seemingly of helplessness. Chastised by the Lord and put into a position seemingly of helplessness. The devotee who becomes helpless by the will of the Lord is more fortunate than those who are born in good families. The fallen devotees born in good families may forget the lotus feet of the Lord because they are less fortunate. But the devotee who is put into a forlorn means hopeless, very sad, hopeless situation. Forlorn condition is more fortunate because he swiftly returns to the lotus feet of the Lord, thinking himself helpless all around. So this helplessness, feeling of helplessness, is actually good. And coming back to the fold of the Lord's protection through strictly following the regulative principles, associating favorably with devotees, engaging the mind and the senses in the service of the Lord, this is our real position. Just like Prabhupada said, if a sewing machine, goes back to Godhead, what will it do? A Singer sewing machine, right? If it goes back to God, what will it do? Yeah, it continues sewing for the Lord. If it can do that in this world, it can do it back to Godhead, right? So if we always are thinking of the Lord and engaging in His service, just imagine doing that in a spiritual world where there's no demons, no illusion, no nonsense. It's just all transcendental, unending ecstasies. So this is our real destiny. So now we'll go to any questions. So the next verse, number 20. These are all big verses. They all have a lot of deep meanings in them. I'm not expert enough to bring out all the meanings, but you could go over these verses for many, many days and months, and you'll see new things in it all the time. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Himself, this cosmos, and still He is aloof from it. From Him only, is this the right verse? Yeah. From Him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In Him it rests, and unto Him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis. So what does synopsis say? One second, let me just answer this real quick. Okay, so synopsis means a summary, So purport. For a pure devotee, the conception of Mukunda, Lord Sri Krishna, is both personal and impersonal. The impersonal cosmic situation is also Mukunda, because it is the emanation of the energy of Mukunda. For example, a tree is a complete unit, whereas the leaves and the branches of the tree are emanated parts and parcels of the tree. The leaves and branches of the tree are also the tree, but the tree itself is neither the leaves nor the branches. The Vedic version that the whole cosmic creation is nothing but Brahman means that since everything is emanating from the Supreme Brahman, nothing is apart from him. Similarly, the part and parcel, hands and legs are called the body, but the body as the whole unit is neither the hands nor the legs. The Lord is the transcendental form of eternity, cognition, and beauty, and thus the creation of the energy of the Lord appears to be partially eternal, full of knowledge, and beautiful also. The captivated conditioned souls under the influence of the external energy, Maya, are therefore entrapped in the network of the material nature. They accept this as all in all, for they have no information of the Lord, who is the primeval cause, nor have they information that the parts and parcels of the body, being detached from the whole body, are no longer the same hand or leg as when attached to the body. Similarly, a godless civilization detached from the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is just like a detached hand or leg. Such parts and parcels may appear like hands and legs, but they have no efficiency. The devotee of the Lord, Srila Vyasadeva, knows this very well. He is further advised by Sri Narada to expand the idea so that the entrapped conditioned souls may take lessons from him to understand the Supreme Lord as the primeval cause. According to the Vedic version, the Lord is naturally fully powerful, and thus his supreme energies are always perfect and identical with him. Both the spiritual and the material skies and their paraphernalia are emanations of the internal and external energies of the Lord. External energy is comparatively inferior, whereas the internal potency is superior. The superior energy is living force, and therefore she is completely identical, but the external energy, being inert, is partially identical. But both the energies are neither equal nor greater than the Lord, who is the generator of all energies. Such energies are always under his control, exactly as electrical energy, however powerful it may be, is under the control of the engineer. You notice how he refers to the energy of the Lord as female. We are also energies of the Lord. Right? The human being and all other living beings are products of his internal energies. Thus the living being is also identical with the Lord, but he is never equal or superior to the personality of Godhead. The Lord and living beings are all individual persons. With the help of the material energies, the living beings are also creating something, but none of their creations are equal or superior to the creations of the Lord. The human being may create a small, playful Sputnik and may throw it into outer space, but that does not mean that he can create a planet like the Earth or moon and float it in the air as the Lord does. Men with a poor fund of knowledge claim to be equal to the Lord. They are never equal to the Lord. This is never to be. The human being, after attaining complete perfection, may achieve a large percentage of the qualities of the Lord, say up to 78%, but it is never possible to surpass the Lord or become equal to him. In a diseased condition only, the foolish being claims to be one with the Lord and thus becomes misled by the illusory energy. The misguided living beings, therefore, must accept the supremacy of the Lord and agree to render loving service to him. For this, they have been created. Without this, there cannot be any peace or tranquility in the world. Srila Vyasadeva is advised by Srila Narada to expand this idea in the Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavad Gita also, the same idea is explained. Surrender fully unto the lotus feet of the Lord. That is the only business of the perfect human being. So, this is an important point Actually, let me see if I can. Yeah, the main topic of the Bhagavad Gita is that we're all subordinate to the Lord. And being part and parcel of the Lord, there's no question of independent life. And therefore, we should take the Krishna consciousness. That's our natural position. And slowly make spiritual progress. It's a gradual purification. And then go back to Godhead where we belong. This idea of independence, being separate from the Lord, or the Lord is not a person, it's an it, or an energy. They're all false concepts. There's no such thing as we are independent. We're constantly controlled by the laws of material nature. So, and there's no question of us being separated from the Lord. At every moment, everything around us and within us is the energy of the Lord. It's under His control. And once we realize that, then we see that, our natural position is to always be Krishna conscious. And it's unnatural to not be Krishna conscious. And it only causes trouble in our life. Okay. In a diseased condition only, the foolish being claims to be one with the Lord and thus becomes misled by the illusory energy. The misguided living beings, therefore, must accept the supremacy of the Lord and agree to render loving service to Him. For this, they have been created. There you are. Just like you create a child, why did you do that? You do that because you want to increase your happiness. So we're all children of Krishna. So therefore we should act to please the Lord. And then that's why we were conceived. The Lord is one. But He becomes many. Why does He become many? A husband and wife are alone together. So why did they decide to have children? It's to increase their happiness. So Krishna expanded us to increase His happiness. So we shouldn't give Krishna any trouble. We should give Him what He wants, His happiness. And if you do that, then all problems of life are finished. In the 9th chapter, 33rd verse, a very nice statement. 9th chapter, 33rd verse says, Kim punar brahmana punya bhakta rajasayastata anityam asukam lokam imam prapya brajastvamam. How much more this is so of the righteous brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary, miserable world, engage in loving service to the Lord. And Prabhupada says, in this material world, there are classifications of people. But after all, this world is not a happy place for anyone. It is clearly stated here, anityam asukam lokam. This world is temporary and full of miseries, not habitable for any sane gentleman. This world is declared by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be temporary and full of miseries. Some philosophers, especially Mayavadi philosophers, say that this world is false. But we can understand from Bhagavad Gita that the world is not false. It is temporary. There is a difference between temporary and false. This world is temporary, but there is another world which is eternal. This world is miserable, but the other world is eternal and blissful. Arjuna was born in a saintly royal family. To him also, the Lord says, take to my devotional service and come quickly back to Godhead, back home. No one should remain in this temporary world, full as it is with miseries. Everyone should attach himself to the bosom of the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that he can be eternally happy. The devotional service of the Supreme Lord is the only process by which all problems of all classes of men can be solved. Everyone should therefore take the Krishna consciousness and make his life perfect. There you are. Beautiful statement by Prabhupada. That's what's being said here in this verse also. Everyone should therefore take the Krishna consciousness and make his life perfect. Why? Because Krishna consciousness solves all the problems of life. Okay, so I think we'll stop there. Are there any questions or comments or discussion? Any questions, any comments, any discussion? There's another nice verse, 5th chapter, 17th verse, which says, the supreme transcendental truth is Lord Krishna. The whole Bhagavad Gita centers around the declaration that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the version of all Vedic literature. Paratattva means the Supreme Reality, who is understood by the knowers of the Supreme as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the last word in the Absolute. There's nothing more than that. The Lord says, Mattak parataram nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya. Impersonal Brahman is also supported by Krishna. Brahmano hi pratistaham. Therefore, in all ways, Krishna is the supreme reality, one whose mind, intelligence, faith, and refuge are always in Krishna, or, in other words, one who is fully in Krishna consciousness, is undoubtedly washed clean of all misgivings, and is in perfect knowledge in everything concerning transcendence. A Krishna conscious person can thoroughly understand that there is duality, simultaneous identity and individuality in Krishna. And equipped with such transcendental knowledge, one can make steady progress on the path of liberation. So simultaneous identity and individuality. So Krishna conscious persons can thoroughly understand that there is duality, simultaneous identity and individuality in Krishna. So we are identical with Krishna because we're also Sat Chitananda Vigraha. But Krishna is the supreme Sat Chitananda Vigraha, and we are the infinitesimal Sat Chitananda Vigraha. So there's identity and individuality. We're identical, but yet we're individuals. And Krishna is the supreme individual. We are the subordinate individual. Okay. Well, no more questions, no more answers. Oh, yes. Huh?
I just wanted to know the verse number where you mentioned that Krishna Guru and one.
1858. And also in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 5th chapter, what was it? 5th chapter, 17th verse, was it? Oh, 5th verse. I'm sorry. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 7th chapter, 5th verse. $175 and 1858. Huh? Last line. Everything is prompted by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master. And then, but in Srimad Bhagavatam 175, it says, within the supersoul becomes spiritual master, and without he becomes spiritual master as scripture, saints, and initiator spiritual master. So if from within, Krishna tells you while you're dreaming, wake up, go down to the kitchen, get a big knife, go upstairs and kill your wife. So before you do that, you should call up your guru or gurus and say, Krishna just told me this. I said, how was that? Well, in a dream, he said I should go down, get a knife, and kill my wife. What should I do, Gurudev? Ignore that dream. Yeah, so you were going to ask this question? Which one? This 1:5:20? Yeah, it's similar to? Oh, 9:4 and 5. Yeah, so 9:4 5. Just tell me the first word of the 9:4. Maya datam mitam sarvam jagat avyaktam murtina matstanim sarvabhutesu nachaham tesu avastita. Yes. So this verse says what? The Lord is himself this cosmos, and still he is aloof from it. From him only this cosmic manifestation emanated, in him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis. That means that Krishna is everything, but everything is not Krishna. Yeah. Krishna is everything because he's the source of all emanations, including the material nature, the living entities, and all incarnations, and all planetary expansions, and the whole material creation is contained within the Virat Rupa, and he's present in every atom of the universe and the heart of every living entity. So nothing is independent of the Lord, right? So therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is himself this cosmos, right? And still he's aloof from it. So he's playing in Vrindavan with his friends, Goloka Vrindavan. But at the same time, he's present everywhere in the material creation and everywhere in the spiritual world. Now, no one else can emulate that. So Krishna is a unique person. Anyone who says, I'm God, they don't understand anything about God. You know. Yeah. So that's good. Huh?
Even if they take out the certificate?
Yeah, even if they have the certificate from the Rosicrucians. Rosicrucians is another nonsense organization.
I think what I saw in an interview where actually somebody was questioning a person from like South America. He says like I'm the Jesus Christ. So he's on the TV
Yeah.
and he has like really a lot of followers. And he's saying like I am the Christ.
That was John of Christ. Is that him? In Brazil? Is that the guy?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, dummies, believe him. By the way, John of Christ now is in jail. This John of Christ who was, yeah, you can look him up.
Like he was the interview was asking this guy.
He was very famous. People were going, even Oprah went to see him and claimed that, this guy is for real.
Yeah, he was like all suit, boot and tie and all that. And he's claiming like Christ and
John of God, yeah. Yeah, John of God. Not John of Christ, John of God. Yeah, he's in jail now. I won't tell you why, but you can imagine. Yeah, so these people, they have no understanding of what is God. Once you understand Krishna's infinite energies, then you see, wait a minute, no one can be God. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Someone who's passing stool and urine, he claims to be God. Yeah, it's nonsense.
what is that there are followers of such people, when somebody is trying to go to look at anything spiritual life, he doesn't really want himself to be treated. Then how come? Because end of the day we also say that Krishna is the form